What's up, guys? Welcome to the CGPATRIOT podcast.
Today is March 9th, 2021. What a year it's been, guys. So, I had a podcast last night with John Wiku, and we went over some things, and it was my first podcast, to be honest with you. So, I'm just getting my feet wet with this whole podcasting and recording yourself gig. But I did want to share with you guys some more further information about what we had discussed last night, and that was with flat Earth and the Matrix and a few other things about the dimensions and stuff. But I did want to share this one video. I came across this a while ago. You probably have seen it. Talk about biblical times. This is the video that is of. Well, I'll just let the video speak for itself, and then we can talk about it afterwards.
Joining us now here in Los Angeles, Miko Brando, who was with us almost every night after this untimely passing, longtime Michael Jackson friend attending the funeral, and Dave, yes, that's his name, Dave. He was David Rothenberg. He was set on fire in 1983, suffered, as you can see, terrible scars. Michael Jackson befriended him and paid for a lot of his surgeries. Dave is also attending the burial. Why Dave?
Well, to liberate myself from the confines of my father's criminality.
He caused the fire?
Yeah. He is a criminal. And
So, at this point, you might think that what I'm saying is this is Michael Jackson. And, we know that part of the Q movement is that, some of these folks are still alive. And, this links to Princess Diana and a bunch of other videos that you've probably seen. But, the interesting part is he talks about, how his father burned him. And a lot of the childhood trauma, I think, that he grew up with is reflective of that in this. So there's other videos out there that show Michael Jackson dressing up in a suit and doing videos and stuff like that, and you can't even tell it's Michael Jackson. So let's take a listen to this a little bit more.
he caused all this to free myself of his name and his legacy. I decided to become my own person through changing my name.
We'll find out how Michael helped you, but Miko, is that a typical story of Michael helping people like this?
Absolutely. When he would hear about stories of people in need or needed help, and when we watched the news together, he'd reach out to them, send them a basket, send them a note, get well, or whatever the incident would be, and he'd always reach out to people and help people. Even driving around town, he'd stop and help people.
How did he find out about you, Dave?
He heard about me, and he had contacted me and wanted to meet me.
How old were you at the time?
I was about 7 years old at the time.
And were you in the hospital?
I was not in the hospital at the time. I was in interim, back and forth from.
If you notice his the voice is so familiar. It sounds just like Michael Jackson.
Surgery.
And what did he do for you?
Well, basically, he befriended me. He took me into his life, which is very rare for Michael to do. But he opened up his arms to me and accepted me as a very good friend of his. And throughout the years, he never let me go.
I believe that's the hearse carrying the body into Forest Lawn. He will be interred. It looks like a beautiful place to have for him, Miko.
It was very nice. It was a very nice compound.
Yeah, we're going to be showing you close-up of that. That is Forest Lawn. Were you surprised, Dave, to hear from him when you were 7?
Oh, it's a very interesting story, Larry. It was kind of, the visit to his Encino house was very impromptu, and it was kept a secret by my mother. And I had always been kind of a admirer of his, not a fan per se, but I always loved his music. And my mother surprised me one day and brought me up to Neverland. And I entered an arcade, and there were all these Paul McCartney records all over this, The Girl Is Mine, and, this and that. And I remember sitting down, and at the time, my favorite video game was Pole Position. And I was playing Pole Position, and I I felt a little tap on my shoulder.
So you can even tell by his mannerisms. So, you know, I'm under the opinion that he's still alive. I think that there are a lot of folks that are still alive, and we're gonna definitely find out sooner than later, hopefully. So I just wanted to kind of cover that. I can leave the link in the description below for this particular video. But I did want to touch on some of the things last night that I tried to share in the podcast, but we were having some technical issues. So the first one I want to show you guys is the this one about the pilot speaking out. This is actually one of the main article or the main videos that it kind of showcases, you know, where this goes with the flat Earth. And again, I don't think anybody is truly going to, you know, necessarily dive in and believe flat Earth right away. But I do want to touch on the fact that if it took me about a year to get into the subject, to actually even think about the idea that this could possibly be, you know, truth and not a crazy, you know, conspiracy, because anybody who says the Earth is flat is going to be looked at like totally crazy. So I do want to share this one video with you.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and...
Wait, what did he just... We didn't go there, okay? All right.
And that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen. So in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going.
And you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth.
So, in his own words, you know, Buzz Aldrin, I mean, some people could say that, you know, it's one of those things. He's old, and he, well, two ways you can think about it. He's old, and he wants to, you know, finally get that off his chest, or he's old and he's senile, and he just doesn't remember he actually even went to space. So, I guess it's a 50-50 flip on that one. There is another one I wanted to show you where it comes to the Truman Show. And I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that movie, but there's a part in this movie where they talk about the ice wall, and we know about predictive programming. So take a look.
Personally, I think the unconquered south face is the only one worth scaling. It's a 20,000-foot sheer wall of ice, but that's never stopped me before. Risk? Of course I'm aware of the risks. Thank you for your concern. I think the biggest stumbling block I'll face on the journey is the loss of my thumbs.
So, 20,000-foot ice wall. So that's part of the theory, is that the ice wall is actually surrounded on the Earth, and that when you think about where you go on the Earth, it is a circle, but it's not particularly a globe. So, and again, I'll put all these links in the bottom of the video. There is another one here. This is an Operation Fishbowl, and it's an interesting name. This is a military operation that occurred, I believe, 40 or 50 years ago. And this kind of discusses what Operation Fishbowl was about. And it's interesting because what does a fishbowl represent, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this.
They called it Operation Fishbowl, and it was to missiles into space because they thought they had the power to finally break through the firmament. And actually what happens, if you read the rest of the article, these missiles would hit up at a certain altitude, and then light would shine all the way to the other hemisphere. And the reason that was is because they were hitting that glass, and the glass was reflecting it all the way across the sky. It's not some globe Earth where they're just trying. Why would they just shoot a missile in the air to see how high it can blow up? Like, are they just playing with rubber bands? Like, they're doing it for a reason, and they called it Operation Fishbowl for a reason.
And that's the ice wall that you can see around there.
From the late Roman italic.
You know, you can see this ice wall that they're talking about.
Named Dominicus, and it means belonging to God. And then that word chama is a fixed, massive, irregular, inequivalent shell. So they originally called it the shell belonging to God, but then they just termed it Operation Fishbowl.
So as you can see there, we've got a little bit of the military operation that obviously has the term and a name that makes complete, in my eyes, makes an association with the firmament, right? So actually it's great because this landed right on the first part of this this video that I wanted to show you guys, and this part of the video kind of explains that if all of in summary, if all of the things that we were taught about being on a globe are a misconception and completely wrong, and that they've indoctrinated us into this system, that the flat Earth completely, if it is flat or not a globe, and it is not representative of what we've learned in school, that how many other doors does that open up in regards to what they've been lying to us about? It's almost like the most fundamental lie is the difference between where we live, who we are, and where we live are like the fundamentals of what we need to know. So let's take a look at this.
Just our common sense everyday perception of the Earth, it is flat as far as we can tell. It is motionless as far as we can tell, and everything in the sky is revolving around us as far as we can tell. If nobody told us otherwise, we'd logically assume that the Earth was flat, motionless, with everything in the sky revolving around us. And you can prove that this is the case as well, for instance, with the horizon. As you rise up, no matter how high you go on the top of Mount Everest, or if you go in a balloon higher and higher, we've gotten independent balloons have gone up with cameras. The horizon remains flat all the way around and rises to the eye of the camera all the way up, totally flat, and rises to the eye of the observer. So that's one proof. Now, if the Earth were a ball, no matter how big, the horizon is said to be the curvature of the ball.
If you were to go to NASA, it's all fraud, it's all fake. Pretty much everything NASA puts out is fraudulent. There are no images of Earth from space. Put an end to this topic once and for all, turn the Hubble round and show us Earth in real time, but they will not do it. They can't do it. It doesn't exist. Literally doesn't exist. Looking at these images of Earth, including the one they called the Big Blue Marble, which was released in 2002, I think. Zoom into it with Photoshop, you'll see where they've used the clone tool in Photoshop to take a picture of one of the clouds and stamp it in various places around the picture. They got lazy.
If the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference, there must exist a curvature drop of 8 inches times the mile when you square the mile. 1 mile means there should be an 8-inch curvature drop. 2 miles, 2 times 2 times 8 is 32. That's 32-inch drop. 3 miles would be a 72-inch drop. And this would exponentially continue. Here's the longest bridge in the world. The Danyang Kongchon Grand Bridge in China. 102.4 miles long. There should exist nearly 7,000 feet of curvature drop in that bridge. 7,000 foot curvature drop. Do you see it? It ain't there. Look at the horizon. It's flat.
You can see in that dive shot that the inside camera the horizon is completely flat. Then it goes to the outside, and you got a huge curve. But when you're looking at some of the amateur balloon footage, some of it's lens corrected and it's completely flat. And others, like the GoPro stuff, the horizon will fluctuate as the camera spins and tilts. The horizon will go convex and concave, a lens effect. It's obviously not the horizon shifting every 2 seconds as the camera jumps. And when it's still, you can see all the way up, totally flat. NASA is essentially Hollywood, and all the images that you think you've seen of a spinning ball Earth are faked. And all the amateur balloon and rocket footage that we've sent up there shows a flat horizon that rises all the way up. And that's impossible on a ball.
Humans, for the most part, don't have a clue. They don't want one or need one either. They're happy. They think they have a good bead on things.
Well, why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat.
Imagine what you know tomorrow.
So, I'll go ahead and put the link to this in the description below, and just keep an open mind. You know, it's one of those theories that it's really hard to. It's one of the hardest. I would say it's one of the hardest falsehoods to get your head around, and it did. It took me a long time to understand that there really isn't any proof, hardcore scientific proof, other than images of the Earth that are faked, as we saw, that tends to lend to the idea that Earth is a ball. The majority, if not all of the proofs, and there's a video that has like 200 of them, prove that it's flat. You know, so let's go ahead and I've got, this is a good one too.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work. When you go to church. When you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
One thing they fear is 300 million people coming together on one topic and saying, this makes no sense. We need answers. Why is the flat Earth so important? Because it shows the deception. There are enough reasonable questions to create reasonable suspicion that we've been lied to. They can't afford to keep being asked. God forbid, everybody came and started demanding answers, and once they can't provide those answers, people realize they are busted. It can't be a mistake. It can't be anything but the deception and control mechanism it is. That is why they fear the flat Earth. Flat Earth is not a psyop. Flat Earth destroys the psyop. Every psyop that's been used to control us for as long as they've known about it. So this system has been in power and control for hundreds of years, ever since they convinced the rest of the world that they didn't know where they lived, and created this fantastical scenario to make people feel insignificant and to follow those that appear to know better. They're just better liars, deceivers, that have no conscience, and will do everything and anything to everybody and anybody they can to keep that power. Because people are waking up. And no matter how much they try to suppress this flat Earth movement, oh, it's gonna keep moving one way or another. You can see it. People are waking up.
Their Earth is indisputably not round.
Is it possible that these guys are using stage magic, tricks? Look over here, look over here. And is it possible that the world that we're living in has been misdescribed? I definitely know that the world we're living in has been misdescribed to us and oversimplified, including the solar system model. It's been vastly oversimplified. It doesn't actually accord itself to the very accurate readings we can get today with our technology, right? Like they never predicted that it was going to come to this.
All right.
If you can't figure out what difference it makes that the people running your world have fucking lied to you over and over your whole life, if you can't figure out what difference that makes, you're a fucking idiot. And if everybody would just come together and demand answers, they would not know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, but let's talk about that real quick. So the fact that, you know, the media, we all know, the media lies to us about everything. Literally everything and anything. And if you look at the information that surrounds the flat Earth and the concept of that, if you take that and, again, even if it's something different than a ball, right? Whatever it is, that completely and utterly removes how much weight behind all our institutions, all of the science, NASA, I mean, everything. It completely and utterly wipes the slate clean when it comes to what we can believe and not believe, right? Because that's the ultimate lie. You know, that's the ultimate lie. So I want to go ahead and here and show you this pilot video real quick, and then we can kind of wrap up. But let's go ahead and get this teed up here. Okay, here we go.
Over Alaska, it's going to go over Canada. I mean, think about that. You know, how much further north are we talking about? Alaska is from San Francisco. You should go nowhere near that, you know, Alaska, if we live on a globe, if we're flying based on a globe model of the Earth. So when did this? When did you realize that there's something was maybe it wasn't reconciling with reality? When you were flying over Alaska one time that you were like, this is weird? Why are we flying over Alaska? Is that when it dawned on you?
Ironically, no. About 5 years ago, a very senior captain flying for Swiss Air said to me, "Hey Stephen, did you know that the Earth is flat?" And I said, "You're kidding me." You're kidding.
Takes you back. You're like, wait, what?
He said, what? No, come on. He said, come on, Zach, you know that the Earth is flat. You've looked outside the cockpit window. Have you seen any curvature? When did your last flight plan for curvature? And I said, no, it can't be. And that's when he got me started, and I started looking at Flat Earth Facebook sites and starting to talk to other pilots, and 2 out of 3 pilots said I was completely crazy, and a couple of them also started thinking, and we company that I was working for, we have 6 pilots, fixed-wing pilots, 3 helicopter pilots, and I'm dual rated. And we all started talking, and within 12 months of independent research, we all came up with the same conclusion that, in fact, we don't plan for curvature, we don't plan for Coriolis, we can't see curvature. None of our flight planning makes any sense on a ball, but all our long-distance flights make perfect sense on a flat Earth as we understand it, which roughly looks like the UN map. And at least in our little company, we have a unique consensus that all the pilots understand and believe and acknowledge that the Earth is flat. It's non-rotating, it's completely stationary, and it contradicts everything that school children are taught in school.
Yes, I've maintained that ever since I kind of awakened to this reality about our world, is that, if somebody, born and raised without being told or indoctrinated or, continually reinforced that we live on a spinning globe, flying through space, but just based on their own personal experience and they, grew into an adult, and let's say they're 25 years old, and if you were to go up to them and say, did you know in fact that the Earth is spherical? We live on a ball, we live on a sphere, and it's actually spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. It's flying around the sun at over 66,000 miles an hour, and we're chasing the sun through our galaxy at something like 500,000 miles an hour. How do you think that person would respond? Probably the same way somebody that we approach now that believes that we live on that has never heard or never even thought about flat Earth thinks it's crazy. They probably react the same. Would you agree?
Yes. I mean, that is complete utter nonsense. I mean, if you live in the northern or the southern hemisphere, if you take a extended open shutter picture of the stars, they're circling above us. They continue circling around the Polaris, and that has not changed its position for thousands of years. The Aztecs, the Mayans, the Hindus recorded the positioning of the stars, which has not moved at all. And had they been moving, then a sextant and none of our astronomy would work the way we understand it, because we would be seeing different stars whizzing past us constantly. But that never happens. It's always the same star set circling overhead at a predetermined time that it's been recorded in an ephemeral calendar, which records the space-time continuum, if you like, of the position of those stars above. And that's what makes a sextant work. And that's why ancient seafarers could navigate very accurately across our Earth plane, across the oceans, with a sextant, because these star patterns have a unique pattern that is replicated day in, day out, and it is recorded from ancient history, and even into the future will remain the same.
Exactly.
So that's a little bit more of the video that I wanted to show you. I was trying to find an image over here to kind of illustrate what they're referencing. So, but you get the gist of it. This is a pilot, right? This is an actual pilot with years of experience that is calling the industry out, and he goes into further detail on why they believe that the people in the industry, like all these pilots, why they don't know the Earth is flat. It's because of the everybody was programmed in MK Ultra into the concept that it's round. But when you look at it just from so you don't question it. You don't question the world that you're given, right? And that's a quote from Truman Show. We accept the world that we're given, So, that's just one of those things where you kind of have to take a step back and, really just open up your mind to the idea that there's a possibility that, this is not, what it seems. So it doesn't look like I can find this image. I wanted to share it with you yesterday or today that I actually had shared with John last night, but it was it had to do with the cube that reference, and I don't think I can find it here. But that being said, it's one of those it's one of those things. You can do more research on it. You can check it out. I'm not trying to say that, it is definitively this. We don't have a rocket. We can't go up, to a level where we can actually see this and prove it, which makes it a lot more convenient for these folks. One of the facts is that if we can't prove, that by going up that high in the sky and taking a photo of it ourselves, then, it's easy for them to dictate whether or not, we can believe it or not, because we're just, really just, believing what they're saying. And at this point, we all know that we should question everything. So here's a good little illustration. We showed this last night, but the idea is that throughout the world, and throughout religion, and as well as historically and in certain societies, that it's always been referred to as this flat plane, surrounded by a firmament. So, and this is what NASA shows us, right? So, and they're also well known for putting in words like sex and other things into the clouds, which is very interesting. And you'd think it would be consistent that the world views from all the way from the 60s up till now. When you see the pictures of the globe, they're all different. If you go on NASA.com and you check out some of those images of the globe, they're completely 100% different. And we're not talking about quality. We're just talking about geography, right? So that's about it, guys. I just wanted to go over that with you. I wanted to share a little bit more of the information and give you kind of a little bit more of the links to the content that I was trying to share last night. Again, this is one of those times where we kind of have to take a step back and think about where we are on this the Great Awakening and the Moji style that we discussed. I fluctuate between these two, to be honest with you, but it's interesting because the more that we settle into this and really question everything, the more that we know that we are waking up, and a lot of these things that we believe or used to believe are just not true. And we can again, it's all speculation. Nothing that we've actually, and I saw on Twitter today, nothing that we actually predicted, generally came true at the timing it did, right? So, but the fact of the matter is that the overall big picture of this movement is going in the right direction, and I completely believe that we will, within the next few months, I'm hoping by April, but within the next couple months, that we will see exactly what's going to happen here, and we'll be in a better place. So, all right, guys, just stay frosty, buckle up, and I'll get back to you guys soon. Thanks for joining me, and I'm going to probably cast something maybe later today. Not too sure. So, all right, guys, have a good one. All right, bye.